Excited to hear what she has to say, and I hope many of the men will be too. Because you see, Danielle Dobson founded her own business, and she's the lead parent of 3 boys. Wow, you must be exhausted, Danielle. Bringing her corporate experience, inner detective, and focus on human flourishing to her mission to build more gender balance in the business world, in families, and in our communities. Danielle is also determined to create pathways for women to important positions of leadership and influence and make sure they get there without excessive self-judgment and crippling guilt. Put your hands up if you're a woman who suffered from any of those. Yep, there's a few of us in the room, me included. Her 2-year research project resulted in her recently released book, which is such a gorgeous book called Breaking the Gender Code. How women can use what they already have to get what they actually want. How about that? So using the insights from her book, tonight, Danielle will share with us what she thinks is holding us all back and how we can fix it. Her presentation is aptly titled, Breaking the Gender Code. Please give a huge round of applause for Danielle Dobson.
Thanks, everyone. Sitting in a cosy cabin on Lake Washington, Seattle, October 2017. I'm 2 days into a business intensive with my coach, Pam. It's 9 a.m. and I've hit a brick wall because I'm out of ideas of how to solve a problem that's been keeping me stuck and frustrated for a while. You see, I didn't think that I could be the parent that I wanted to be to my 3 boys, and at the same time achieve at the level that I wanted in my business without feeling like I was failing at both. And I knew from my work as a wellness and executive coach to professional women that I wasn't alone in this struggle. Many women feel that same tension between succeeding at work and at home. Pam could see that I was stuck, and she realised that it was my beliefs that were holding me back. And if I didn't believe that I could do this, then I simply couldn't. So she helps me to move forward, and she asks me a few questions. And she said, Danielle, you've got to understand what's behind that belief that you share with many professional working mothers. What's really holding us back, and what can you do about it? Those few questions shifted everything. And it was the birthplace of a market research project that would change my world. I started reconnecting with friends and contacts in the business and corporate world, which had been my home base for 13 years. Whereas a CPA, I covered everything from private practice to multinationals across 3 countries. And based on referrals from others and a bit of stalking by me, I started interviewing women who were leading at work, but also leading at home as a lead parent. I wanted to understand how becoming a parent influenced their leadership approach and how being a leader influenced how they parented. So rather than focusing on 2 different worlds, I wanted to understand what was working well across all areas and what strengths they bring and build to both. So there were well over 100 conversations, and I formally interviewed and recorded 52 people, including a few good men. And these people work in senior positions and very senior positions across banking and finance, engineering, automotive, petrochemicals, mining, journalism, medical, government, recruitment, not-for-profit. And during these conversations, certain themes emerged, and I expand on that in my book. But in particular, what kept coming up a lot were personal experiences and observations around gender disparities, pay inequalities, discrimination, and inappropriate treatment of women in the workplace. And these disparities extended to home life, with the unequal distribution of unpaid work. This is well documented and well known, and I experienced it myself. But I was curious to know, where did it all come from? Where did these disparities in gender and these power imbalance originate? In our homes, in our workplaces, and in society. So it became a mission, and I dug really deep, and what I discovered was transformative. Essentially what I discovered is that we're all operating under a code, the gender code. And the gender code is that set of default beliefs we all recognise about the natural differences between men and women. And these beliefs create stereotypes that keep the genders firmly in different boxes, and in particular prevents women from achieving success and living their dreams. And we've all been programmed with this gender code for millennia. It's like a societal algorithm. And we don't challenge these beliefs, even though they present real difficulties for workplaces, for individuals and our societies. According to the gender code, women are pigeonholed in the role of carer and men in the role of provider. But programming along gender lines is detrimental because it prevents all of us from stepping into our unique potential. But we no longer need to be tied to this outdated thinking. And part of the reason I know this is that according to our evolutionary past, our division of roles along gender lines was not part of our DNA. We were actually egalitarian people. And if you think about it, to survive in a harsh environment, we needed to adapt, be flexible, play to our strengths, collaborate. And there's evidence now emerging to suggest that men were more involved in child rearing and gathering, and women were hunters. And also brain research, studies on emotions, and analysis of girls and boys shows us they were actually more similar than different. But the gender code is so strong, and we buy into it and we drive it personally, and we don't realise that it sets personal expectations and increases pressure to perform. These pressures include productivity, perfectionism, emotional and mental load, and for many women, the pressure to have it all. And unfortunately, this leads to high expectations or massive expectation gaps, self-judgment, frustration, and guilt. But there is a way to relieve the gender code pressure, to bridge the expectation gap, and to navigate to a more fulfilling reality. And a conversation with my 10-year-old son showed me how. It's 4:09 p.m. on a Thursday in March 2019. My middle son and I are surrounded by surfboards, surf accessories, and surfers. We're at our favourite surf shop cafe, enjoying some one-on-one time together. But despite my best intentions to draw Leo into conversation, he did not seem interested. He was more interested in his smoothie and surfing. So determined not to squander this precious one-on-one time for an uninterrupted chat, I started sharing with him about my work and the gender code and how it influences us and the pressures it causes and how I really wanted to fix it. And he thought about it and he said, "Mum, is your gender code anything like the coding we do in Coder Club?" And I said, "Oh, it might be." Hold that thought, and I started recording our conversation. And I said, "Leo, what is it about Coding Club that you love so much?" And this is what he said. This is why I've got this. "Well, Mum, I'm usually the worker person in the family, and my big brother's usually the person who bosses me around. But in coding, whatever you're coding doesn't boss you around. You get to do whatever you want with it. I'm in charge, so I can do anything I want when I make my own code." And then he continued. I was like, "Keep going." As the coder, you have to understand how coding works and be able to read code. Before I knew how to code, I'd be really confused, and now that I can read it, if it pops up in something somewhere, I know what to do or say because I know what it means. I can make a choice to do what it says or not, and I can delete parts of the code that don't make sense. Not all code's been created yet, so you can try new things that haven't been created and create it. And that conversation just joined all the dots, and he helped me build a framework for breaking the gender code. Because, as he pointed out, the key is to be open and curious. And then you understand the code, and then you question it and ask if it makes sense anymore and make choices. You can choose which parts you want to keep, which parts you want to delete, and what new parts you want to create. And when you learn how to code, you can create your own unique code. You are in charge. Ooh. So the experiences of 2020 have provided us with plenty of opportunities to reprioritise who and what we value based on what's most important to us. So what I propose in 2021 and beyond is, rather than basing our lives, our relationships, our work, our identity on outdated gender codes and unrealistic expectations, yours and other people's, write your own code and move from feeling invisible to being powerful. And when we break the gender code within us, we provide the perfect environment to build confidence in who we truly are, bring the best of who we are to everything we do, and write our own code. And when we write our own code, this is the best bit. We create the environment for the next generation of code breakers. Thank you. Oh, that it? Thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Danielle. Give me a woo if you are fully into breaking that gender code. Yes, fantastic. Wow, this is a message that definitely has to get out, because we're so unconscious about our biases, and it's just assumed that the woman's going to stay at home and change the nappies and do the cooking. Thank God my husband over there does all the cooking and changed most of the nappies. So yay to Yoram over there. And I know Danielle's partner is equally as amazing, and I'm sure there are many more of you. Now, I'm going to shut up so that you can write your testimonials. Thank you.